All right, this is the first of our review sessions for Beginning Bridge. And this is Beginning Bridge Part 1 that we're taking right now. It'll be immediately followed by Beginning Bridge Part 2. By the time you get to the end of all 10 lessons, each of them we have 5 meetings for each one, you will pretty much know all the basics of Beginning Bridge. If you just finish the first session, you will know the basics of bidding when there is no interference by the opponents. So you will understand the basics of bidding and you can start playing the game. But it really takes both sessions to pretty much fully say that you've got the game of bridge down. We looked at the syllabus. Get over here. I just wanted to briefly go over the syllabus with you, except here it is. As I said, we are going to have 5 classes for this part of the bridge, Beginning Bridge. Last week, we just covered the basics, just the kind of technical things about how the game works. Next week, tomorrow, we're starting to get into the actual bidding. And we'll start with major suit openings and responses. Then the next week, we'll do minor suit openings and responses. The last week the last week of our actual lessons, we'll talk about no trump bidding. And then the 5th week, we are going to do practically all play. We'll probably have a little bit of a review, but then most of the time we'll be playing hands and going over those hands. The book that we're using, and this is actually part 2 of the book. I didn't bring part 1 up here, but same principle. This is Bridge Basics 1 that we're talking about now. And we will be going through here pretty much in order. The first session, we did the first chapter in here. Starting next week, we're going to go to chapter 3, then chapter 4, then we'll come back to chapter 2. We skipped the no trump section, which is part 2 in this book, and do it last because she doesn't cover everything really the way people play no trump. She doesn't cover it that way in this book. So I think I like to cover that with you guys. I don't see any reason in learning to play it one way, and then as soon as you start playing it anywhere else, you have to learn a different way. So that's why we're doing a little bit differently. Otherwise, we really are going to use these books throughout both sections of the Beginning Bridge classes. The things I really like about this book is at the beginning of the book, at the beginning of each chapter, there's a summary of what you're going to cover. Then there is an excellent discussion of everything you need to know, step by step. She kind of goes through it. And at the end of the chapter, there's a summary of the key points that were in the chapter. Then there are exercises which give you a chance to see if you were getting the concepts, exercises and answers to those exercises, and they're pretty in depth. And then at the end of the chapter, there are at least 4 hands that illustrate what you learned earlier in the chapter. So these books are really good, and except for the no trump one, which I don't teach that way, everything else is very good, very basic bridge. So we'll be using those. All right, let's look now at this week we covered, this past week, we really just covered the technical details of bridge. And one of the first things we talked about was the hand count, because everybody see that up on the screen now, the ace,
Yes.
queen, jack. Okay.
Yes.
When you've played other trick-taking games like hearts or spades, you know that each person plays a card. There are 4 people, you play a card. As each person plays a card, you decide who wins out of those 4 cards. And it is the top card that's played in a suit. In bridge, it's the top card played in a suit, unless somebody was out of that suit and played a trump on the suit. And the trump, whichever suit is the trump, is decided during the bidding process. But the highest one wins. unless it's trump, and you, because you didn't have a card in that suit, then you can play a trump, and the highest trump that's played on the suit wins. Sometimes one person may trump it, and another person who's also out of that suit may trump behind them. So it's the highest either suit or trump that's played. When you play other kinds of trick-taking games, there you have to guesstimate how many tricks you think your hand is going to take, or what you think your hand is worth. In bridge, this is one of the big differences between bridge and all the other trick-taking games. And one of the reasons why bridge is so interesting and people kind of get into it and hung up with it and spend a lot of time playing it and studying it is because in bridge, there is what's called the auction session. And that's when we go around and we use kind of a coded language to describe our hand, how strong our hand is, and match that with our partner. Bridge is also a partnership game only. The person sitting across the table from you is your best friend in bridge because that's your partner. You sink or swim together. Everything that you get, he gets, and vice versa. Good, bad, indifferent, that's your partner. The other people at the table, the other two, naturally are your opponents. And so each hand, you're trying to do the best you can with the cards that you've been dealt for that hand. Now, in order to do this bidding process, to describe your hand to your partner in this kind of coded method that we use, we need to have a way for evaluating the hand. So we'll have an agreement on what our hand is and what we're communicating to the other person. In bridge, the system that we use just by agreement is that when you look at your hand, an ace is worth 4 points, a king is worth 3 points, a queen is worth 2 points, and a jack is worth 1 point. So you just, all the cards are dealt out. We talked about there's 52 cards in a deck. There's 4 people at the table. So if you just deal the cards out one by one, at the end, everyone will have 13 cards in their hand. So you just pick up your 13 cards, you sort them into suits, and we discussed the fact that there are 4 suits, 4 different kinds of cards based on the symbols on them. And if you'll look up here, this is the spade symbol. This is the club symbol. This is hearts, and this is diamonds. We at least definitely recognize those, right? The little puppy feet are clubs, and this looks like a hat to me. This is spades. Okay, so spades, clubs, hearts, and diamonds are the 4 suits that we have, and there are 13 cards in each suit. So in spades, you have the ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And bridge, the bottom card is a 2. Sometimes in other games, the ace is the bottom. In bridge, the ace is the top. Susan, you have a question?
Yes, oddly, our book calls a suit a strain.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
Well, she uses that to describe what type of contract you're going to be playing. And the only difference between a strain and a suit is that the strain includes no trump, because you can choose not to have a trump, and that is no trump. And that's part of the contract process that will, when we get really into the bidding, you'll see the difference between all those. But that's why she says strain, because it's suit or no trump.
Got you. Thank you.
Okay, so anyway, so we have in spades, we have ace through the 2, clubs, ace through the 2, hearts, ace through the 2, etc. So each one of the suits is 13 cards, and they're ranked ace through 2. If you have the top ones, the face cards in the suits, you actually assign values to those. So you pick up your 13 cards, you sort them into spades, clubs, hearts, and diamonds. And then you look at each one and you count how many points you have in your hand. If you had an ace of spades, a king of clubs, a queen of hearts, and a jack of diamonds, you would have 4, 3, 2, 1. You would have 10 points. But you might have like the king of clubs and the queen of clubs and the ace of diamonds and the jack of hearts. You'll have different combinations depending on how your hand has been dealt out to you. So whatever you have, you just count the value of your face cards. Now, if we think about this for just a minute, we have 52 cards in the deck. We have 4 suits. Each suit has an ace, a king, a queen, and a jack in it, the 4, 3, 2, 1, that we're assigning points to. So that means each suit has 10 points available in it, an ace, a king, a queen, and a jack. And all the points in the deck would be that 10 times 4. So there are 40 points available in the deck. And that's how, when we're having our coded bidding process that we'll learn about later, when we're going back and forth, we're trying to assess how many points our partnership has, the two of us have. And if we had every point in the deck, we would have 40 points between us and the opponents would have none. But that never happens, okay? The chances of that happening are so remote as to it will never happen to you in your lifetime, I guarantee, okay? The most points I've ever had in a hand is 29, and that's out of 50 years of playing one time. So you're not going to get 40, okay? But if you did get all the points, it would be 40. What you usually get is closer to the median, which is 20 points between you and your partner. And so that, of course, means you'd have about 10 points each. You rarely get that exactly either, although that's more common because that's more towards the middle. Usually one of you will have a little bit more, the other will have a little bit less, etc. But it's the points between you that are important. And so if we have 24 or 25 points between us, that means that these guys, our opponents, have just, 15 or 16 points between them. This is a zero-sum game. That means there's only 40 points, and they're divided between us and them. The more we have, the less they have, and vice versa. So if we have more than 20 points between us, that usually means it is our hand to bid. We should be in charge. We should be the one that gets to bid that hand and control what happens with that hand. And the opponent should just defend, which means trying to keep us from doing our best with the cards we have. So we kind of have to figure out what we have between us. And the way we do that is by bidding. We're talking about that starting tomorrow. This week, what we really talked about was the bidding ladder itself before we get into the actual bids. Once you have assigned the points to your hand, then you need to kind of think about this bidding ladder. And this is the coded bids that we make during this auction process where we are describing our hand one at a time. We go around the table and describe our hand and decide how high up this ladder we belong and what is the best thing for us to do. Do we have more diamonds or spades or hearts, or do we have kind of equal amounts of each of them, which means we might want to play in no trump. So in bridge, when you are bidding, you will start with one club. You can start with one club. That's the lowest bid. And then the next bid up would be one diamond, one heart, one spade, one no trump. Then we start at 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, 2 spades, 2 no trump, etc. And you'll see there that the suits are always ranked. Clubs is the lowest, then diamonds, then hearts, then spades. then no trump. That's the highest of each one of the levels of bidding. Now, we'll learn starting tomorrow when you bid, when you actually make one of these bids, you can start anywhere on the ladder. So you don't have to start with one club. You start with 3 diamonds, and you'll learn how to make decisions about the different ones that you want to do. But wherever you start, the next person to bid must bid up the ladder. They don't have to bid the next one up the ladder, but they have to bid somewhere higher up the ladder. So the bids could start out 1 club, then 1 diamond, 1 heart, 1 spade, or more frequently, the bids might start out 1 heart, and then somebody else might bid 2 diamonds, and then somebody else might bid 3 clubs, and then the next person might bid 3 diamonds, then maybe 3 hearts. In other words, you can jump around, but you cannot go back down the ladder. So that's part of bidding, that you're always going up the ladder. When we're trying to figure out where on this big ladder do we belong, if we only have about 20 points between us, that means we just have about half the points and the opponents have half the points. We shouldn't be anywhere off this first section, okay? Because we have about the same amount. So we can't be making a lot of extra tricks going up the ladder. But if we have a few more points between us, like 22 or 23, maybe we can bid in the 2 level. More points, maybe we can bid up to the 3 level. We've got 26 points, 25 or 26 points. We can bid at a special level that's called game. And game is if you have 25 points and you want to bid no trump, that's 3 no trump, 4 hearts, or 4 spades. This will start making more sense to you right now. Not making a lot of sense, but I need to point this out to you because as we're bidding up the ladder, going higher up the ladder, we want to stop as quickly as we can, as we agree where we need to be, but we want to be seeing if we can get to these points. The reason for that is you get points no matter where down here you wind up. But if you can bid 3 no trump, 4 hearts, or 4 spades, because that seems to be the number of points you have when you're discussing it between you and your partner, you get extra bonus points for bidding to that level. So in bridge, in the bidding process of bridge, we're trying to find out how high do we belong on this bidding ladder, and what strain, as Audrey Grant refers to it, what strain do we want? Do we want one of the suits, or do we want to be playing no trump? So that's what we're doing. Now, at our class, during our class, we learn to play mini bridge, which is kind of playing bridge without the whole bidding process, which we're going to start learning tomorrow. In the system we use in our class, what we do is we deal out the cards so that everybody has 13 cards. Then everybody looks at their cards, and the person to the left of the person that dealt the cards, that person is the first one to bid, and all he does is say the number of points he has in his hand. So he says his points out loud, then the next person announces their points, then the third person, then the fourth person. Whichever of the 2 pairs has the most points, more than 20 points, then those 2 people are going to be what's called the declarer. They're going to be the ones that get to decide, to get to declare what level and what strain they want to play. The opponents will be defending and trying to keep them from making what they're saying they're going to be able to make when they play those cards out. So you deal them out. Each person announces their point share in their hand. The pair that has the most is the declarer. When you've decided who the declarer is, which 2, the person out of those two with the most points is going to be the declarer, and that person is in charge of the bidding. This is how regular bridge works, except for this bidding part. We're doing that a little bit different. But in regular bridge, when you have decided where you're going to play, who's making the decisions, the same thing happens. The declarer is the one who started out the bidding. They are the ones that actually play the hand, take the tricks, decide what's going to be played on each trick. And the person across from the declarer, their partner, is what's called the dummy. And the dummy doesn't mean in bridge dumb. The dummy just means you do not speak. You put down your cards and then you're done. Your partner will tell you what cards to play. And so the dummy's cards are always face up on the table as soon as the decision has been made, who's the declarer. So the dummy's hands are put face up on the table. Now, everybody at the table can see two hands. The declarer can see their hand and the dummy, and each one of the defenders, the other two people, can see their hand and the dummy hand. This is another big difference between bridge and other trick-taking games. And this is what makes bridge so involved and interesting, is that you can tell a lot more. You can reason out a lot more about what's happening in the hand when you can see two hands and make decisions that way. Usually in trick-taking games, you can't, everybody keeps their hands concealed. But in bridge, one hand is always available. And so that makes the play really interesting because you have a lot of factors you can consider instead of just having to guess where some cards may be. So the person, after you've decided that, the declarer is the one with the most points. The dummy puts their hand down, and then the declarer looks at their hand and the dummy's hand. And if they have 8 cards in a suit, that suit will be the strain. Well, that will be what we are playing, okay? We will decide, we will play maybe at the 2 level with hearts being trumps. And we'll decide that based on the bidding level. If we have 22 or 23 points, we'll need to be bidding at the 2 level. That's what our ladder tells us. And if we have 8 cards in hearts or more, then hearts needs to be our suit that we play in, our trump suit. If we don't have, between me and my partner, we don't have 8 cards in any suit, we're kind of more evenly in every suit, then we will play no trump. So if between us, we look, and let's say we have 24 points between the 2 hands, we have 9 spades between us, then we are going to play 3, because that's a level we belong at, and spades. Spades will be trump. Then the person that's sitting before the dummy will lead out a card, and then we'll begin to play. Now, when you play bridge, this bidding level here, anytime you are bidding, you are saying, this is the number of tricks I'm going to take plus 6. Okay, so when you bid 1 heart, if you stopped there, you would be contracting, you would be agreeing that you would try to get 7 tricks, 6 plus 1, and that hearts would be trump. And our kind of, example that we're using here, our pretend game, we have said that we are going to say that we're going to take 3 spades. That means we need to take 9 tricks with spades as trump. So we go around the table one at a time. The person to the left of the dealer, the person that's before the dummy, because we're always going clockwise, playing cards one at a time, going clockwise around the table. The first person leads out a card. This person can lead any card out of their hand that they want to lead. Usually, if their partner had bid something, they would probably lead that. Otherwise, they would listen to our bidding and think, well, if we're going to play spades, maybe I'll try to lead something else. Anyway, they will lead something, anything. And then the declarer can look at both hands and they will decide what to play from the dummy. The declarer says, play the two of hearts or play whatever they want to play that in the dummy hand that they can see. Then the next person plays, the partner of the original leader plays their card. And then the last person to play on the first one is the declarer. Whoever wins that trick, whoever puts the highest card on that trick, wins the trick, and they get to lead to the next trick. They lead a card out. Everybody follows suit if they can. If they can't, they can throw any other card that they want, or they can trump it. If we are playing in a trump suit, like spades in our example, if you don't have any hearts, then you can play a spade on there, and the spade will win the trick unless somebody plays a higher spade because they're also out of the suit. So it's always the highest card to win, or if somebody has run out of the suit and plays a trump, that will win unless somebody plays a higher trump. It's always the higher card of either the suit or the trump that is what wins the trick. And we just go through that 13 times. Each time, everybody plays to the suit. So each trick, each time it's played around, that's called a trick. Each trick, there will be 4 cards on it. The highest card will win. And we keep track of it by putting the cards down in front of us so that we can see who's won this trick and who's won that trick. For those of you that have played bridge some before and played at home, when we play bridge in the Bridge Center and in our class, we do it a little bit differently. When you're playing at home, you just put the card out in the middle, and whoever wins it picks all the cards up and puts it in front of them, and we keep track that way. In the way we're doing it in our class, we don't do it that way. We do it a little bit different. You put the card down just in front of you. You don't throw it all the way out in the middle, but you put it down in front of you so that everybody can see towards the middle what each card has been played. Then when you see who won the trick, you turn the cards over, but you turn them over right in front of you. So if this person led the 3 of hearts and the next person plays the 5 of hearts and the next person plays the 7 of hearts and the last person plays the ace of hearts, the ace of hearts wins. We can all see the ace of hearts is there. So now we all turn our cards over and keep them in front of us. We don't throw them all on the table and stir them up. We move them back in front of us, and whoever won it puts the cards the long way that way. Or if the other people, you put, your rectangular cards that way. If you won it, you put your card up and down like this. If the opponents won it, you just put your card like that. And that way you can keep track of who won. And so by the end of it, you'll have some things that look like this. You'll have some cards going that way, some cards going up and down, just depending on however it was. As you played the trick, you pile them up in front of you. That way, if this were what we had, I've got 2 going my way, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going the other way. Those people took 5 tricks. I took 2 tricks. We can just count it that way. The nice thing about this is then we just squish all the cards back together and we can turn them over, because in our class, we usually want to be discussing what happened. So once everything is done, now we've got our hand sitting again in front of us, and everybody can turn their hand over and we can discuss as a class what happened in the hands. When we're playing duplicate bridge, which is what we play at the Bridge Center, the fact that you have your hands now in front of you, you put them back. There's a little tray of cards that you put your hand back into, and that tray of cards moves that deal, that set of hands, 4 hands over to the next table, and the next table plays those cards. So that's why we do it that way at the Bridge Center. If you're just playing with your friends in a regular bridge game where you're not going to compare later, but just to see who had the most tricks, you would just throw them all in the middle and pick them up at the end, pick them up as you win them, and put the ones you've won in front of you. So you have 4 cards, one from everybody in each trick you put in front of you. Okay, so as we've gone around, we have, by the end of it, we have played 13 tricks. Our bid, which remember was 3 spades in our example, our bid of 3 spades, we said we would take 9 tricks with spades as trump. So when we get through playing the hand, we count up. And since there's 13 cards, what I got plus what the opponents got is going to equal 13. If I did what I was supposed to do, I took 9 tricks, which means they took 4 tricks, right? Because there's always 13. If I didn't quite take the 9 I said I was going to take, maybe I just took 7. And the other people have 6 then in their hand. It's always going to be a total of 13 between the two. If I was able to get 9 tricks on my hand and my bid that I agreed I was going to have, the 3 spades, I'm going to get points for having gotten that. If I don't get that many, if I don't get 9, maybe I only get 8 or 7, the opponents get points. That's how the points work. It's going to be a long time. Later in the second class, we'll talk about how the scoring actually works, because for the beginning part of it, you don't really care. There's enough stuff to worry about in bridge without worrying exactly how the scoring works. Just be aware that when you're bidding, you are trying to decide how high you can bid, and by deciding how high you're going to bid, you're trying to see if you can get to one of these game levels, 3 no trump, 4 hearts, or 4 spades with you and your partner. If you can't, you push to get there. If you can't get there, you try to stop as low as you can, because you'll get points no matter, but you'll get more points if you make a game bid. But if you try to make a game bid and you push a little bit too high and don't make your bid, you will lose points. The opponents will get the points. So that's how it works in general. Okay, I want to point out one other thing that we talked a little bit about, and this is just an introduction. A lot of the stuff we did in last Monday's class was just kind of trying to get you used to the mechanics of putting the cards down, counting your cards, knowing that there's 52 cards in a deck, 13 cards in a suit. When you deal all the cards out, everybody has 13 cards in their hand. It's called a hand. 13 cards that you have every time on each deal, which is the set of dealing all the 52 cards out. Then you pick up your hand, you've got 13 cards in it. How you play those out, how you make the bids, that was really pretty much what we covered in the first session. So it's just getting used to the mechanics. Well, here, this is some rules or guidelines for the mechanics of how we play the cards out. Once we've bid and decided what we want to do, then it actually has to be played. So I don't spend a lot of time on these, but just to kind of get you used to thinking about it, we'll talk more about this as we go through the class. There's 2 sets of things on this handout that I gave you. One set is the opening lead, and the other one is just general play of the hand. Opening leads means the first card that's led for the whole session, that we're talking about on that deal. The 13 cards that are getting ready to be played. We have bid, we have decided we're going to play 3 spades in our example. And we said that the person to the left of the dealer, the declarer, gets to lead the first thing out. So they lead the very first card, and here is how they decide which card to choose. Because they've got 13 cards in their hand, they could choose any card. How they decide what to choose, that very first one, if their partner bid a suit during the auction, they're going to lead that suit. That's in our beginning bridge, we don't have that. You will in the second part, but beginning bridge, we won't have partner having bid anything. So what you really have to consider will be leading the top of a sequence. And if you have a sequence, you lead the top card in that sequence. So if you have the king, queen, jack, you lead the king. If you have the queen, jack, 10 in a suit, you lead the queen. If you had the ace, queen, jack in a suit, that's not a solid sequence. So you wouldn't lead anything there. But if you have the solid sequence, 2 or 3 cards touching, that are face cards, that are the cards we gave values to, an ace, a king, a queen, or a jack, you will lead the top of those if you have it. Most of the time, we don't have that. But when we do, we want to lead the top of the sequence. If we are playing no trump, we always want to lead our longest suit to begin with, or mostly do. No matter if we're playing a suit or no trump, in general, when we're leading a long suit, we're going to lead the fourth one down, the fourth one from the top. So if you only have 4, you lead the lowest one. But if you have 5 or 6 or 7, you lead the fourth one down. There's an explanation for why we do this, but you don't need to worry about it right now. Just lead. If you're going to lead from a long suit, you're not leading a sequence, so you're not leading a top card. If you're leading a lower card because you're leading from your length of your suit, you'll lead the fourth one down. Again, these are just for opening leads the very first time the card gets let out on that hand. Now, the opening lead will happen, then somebody's going to win, then somebody else has to lead another card back, because once you win, you lead, it's your turn to lead. These rules don't apply for those leads, okay? It's only for the opening lead on a hand do these rules apply. Okay, then when you are playing the hand, here are some things to remember. If your partner led a suit and you won something, then you probably want to lead that suit back to your partner. So this idea is return your partner's lead. If you're not sure what to lead, return your partner's lead. Here's a big rule that works from now until you become a master bridge player years from now. You will follow this general rule. The third hand to play to a trick plays high. The second hand to play to a trick plays low. So the first person leads. The next person to play is the second hand. This is the first hand, second hand. The second hand to play to a trick generally plays the lowest card they have in that suit. Play the lowest card you have. The next person plays the highest card. They're the third hand. So if they don't know what to play, trying to decide what to play, the third person to the trick plays high. The second person played low. Third person plays high. The fourth person to play to a trick gets to decide. I mean, they now can see all 3 other cards. So they now are in a position of knowing either I can beat that and win the trick, or I can't, and then I play a low card and I lose the trick. Okay, so fourth person doesn't always win. But when you play this way, the person that leads the card out, the next person plays low. The reason the next person plays low is because their partner across from them is going to be the last person that plays. So they're going to be the one that have the advantage of knowing I can win this trick, or I'll just let them win the trick. I don't have a higher card. So the fourth person's in the best position. They can see everything. When you are the second person, you can't see enough now. So you just lay low. That's where the lay low comes from. You lay low, you go low when you're the second person. When you're in the third chair, the third person to play to a trick, you are now the last person to play a card between you and your partner. So if you want to win the trick, you have to play the highest card that you can to see if you can win the trick. That's, of course, if your partner played a low card. If your partner led the ace, now everybody just plays the low card. If partners led a low card, second person plays low. You, as the third person to play, plays the highest card you can, because that's the last chance you have to win that trick. The fourth person is always in the deciding seat. Cover an honor with an honor. If somebody has played a face card and you have the next highest face card up, usually you play that. Don't worry about that rule too much right now. And then here's a piece of advice. At suit contracts, you generally want to draw the opponent's trumps in first. So if you were playing 3 spades, as in our example, as soon as you get to be in the lead as the declarer, you are going to want to play your trumps, because let's say you have 8 trump between you, they have 5. You want to play the trump suit until the trumps are drawn out of the opponent's hands. And that is to keep them from trumping in earlier. They should not be entitled to those trump if you draw them out of their hands. If you try playing another suit first, you have the ace, king, queen of diamonds, and you want to play the ace and the king and the queen of diamonds because you think those are high cards. I should win those 3 tricks. Probably before you get to the end, your opponents are going to run out of diamonds. Then they'll play a trump, and then your ace, king, queen don't win. The trump that's played by the opponents wins. So that's the general rule for play, that we want to draw the opponent's trumps in first. Susan, you had a question?
Yeah, the book in the summary, and I've read ahead to our tomorrow's chapter. They use the phrase "take the tricks and run."
That's right.
To draw trumps first in a suit contract, and then take the tricks and run.
That's right.
So that's what you're saying, really.
That in a way, yes, that is part of what I'm saying. Yes, if you can see, you can count up as declarer. You're going to look between your 2 hands, and you can count. Once you really kind of start learning to do this, you can count how many tricks you think you're going to have. If you were supposed to if you bid 3 spades, so you're supposed to get 9 tricks, and you can see how you're going to get 9 tricks. Yeah, take those 9 tricks, be done with it. Because bad things can happen if you play around. So, however, it's usually not that you can count 9 tricks. Usually you can count 7 or 8 tricks, and you have to figure out how to get another trick. And that's where kind of the knowledge of how to play comes in. You need to figure out how you're going to develop those last tricks. And we're going to talk about that. But no matter which of those scenarios are true, it nearly always is true that we want to get the opponent's trumps out of their hand first. So as soon as we can lead, we're going to lead out our trump and bring their trumps in so they don't get to trump with anything they're not entitled to have. We will learn that there are times when you don't do that. But until you know what those times are and can tell me why you're not drawing the trump first, draw the trump in first. So the 2 big things here to remember are play 3rd hand high, 2nd hand low, and at suit contracts, generally draw the trumps in. Play your trumps first to draw those in. Okay. All right. In class, we talked about the fact, and I want to mention this here, that you can take classes forever. And I frequently have people that take the beginning class 2, 3, maybe even 4 more times, because bridge is really an iterative game. You learn and you add things to it. It builds and builds. And the hard part about teaching bridge is I can't teach you, no one can teach you everything at the first. You know, you just can't learn everything that there is about bridge, all the different subtleties and inferences and everything at the beginning. So we try to keep it simple as we can at the beginning to teach you the basics. And depending where you are, if you've never played before, you're picking up some of the basics. If you played some in the past, you already have some of the basics. Now you're picking up at a little bit different level. And these levels always apply, but nearly always, even in a beginning class, there will be something for you to pick up or adjust or understand now that you really didn't understand before. So that's why people sometimes take beginning bridge more than one time. But whatever you do, you need to play bridge to learn bridge. So you cannot sit in a class and learn to play bridge. And that's I find people a lot of times do. My people sometimes that have taken the bridge class 2 or 3 times are telling me, well, I just don't really feel ready to play yet. You know, I want to take some more classes till I feel ready to play. And what I can tell you is you will never feel ready to play. You always are not going to know things. I, who have played for 50 years and have played bridge seriously at the Duplicate Center for 13 years now, I know that every time I play, I'm going to learn something. And even that there's a lot of people that are a lot higher than me, even those people are going to find something in every game. That's why people keep playing bridge after years. It's a deep, really interesting game that could go a lot of ways. A lot of the things that we do, we use our judgment. Sometimes our judgment is good, sometimes it's not. You know, there's not always an answer to everything. There's just probabilities and guesses, and we get better at making the guesses. Well, you can't do any of that if you don't play bridge. So in our class, we will try to leave a lot of opportunities to play in the class with programmed hands so that we aren't running into everything. We're just running into the things we talked about today. But if you play outside of the bridge class, you are going to run into a lot of different things. So you need to be prepared not to worry about that a lot. You're not going to understand everything when you play. You shouldn't. I mean, it's a game. You'll do a lot of things wrong. Who cares, right? So you just need to play. If you find somebody else to play in the bridge class, that's great. In our classes, you can stay after class and play if you'd like, for as long as you'd like, until we close up shop. But I mean, you could play for an hour if you wanted to, or 2 hours, whatever. So you can play with people after class. People you've met in class sometimes meet and play outside of class. There is a group of people that play every Monday that met in my class, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and they are still playing every Monday, and they stop and discuss the hands, and they have learned a lot, and they're now moving up, really up the ladder quickly at the Bridge Center, the competitive ladder, if you want to play on that, because they meet and study these hands. So you could have somebody like that, or you could just have family and friends that play bridge. You know, you can play with them. They'll help you if they know more than you do. If not, you can all learn together. You can play at the Bridge Center. We have a beginning game, which everybody in this class would fit into. That beginning game is on Wednesdays at noon. Before the game, there is a lesson at 11:30, so you can come early if you want to. And there'll be a brief little lesson, different topic every week. And then you play beginning at noon. You don't have to come with a partner. Partner will be assigned to you if you don't have one. So you can come and play in that game. There's other higher level games that are still for beginner level people that you could look into if you decide you want to do that. So you can play at the Bridge Center. And then the final thing that you can do is, and this is kind of the way you can get the most bridge playing in at your own time and convenience. You don't have to have anybody else available. And that's if you play online bridge, because you can play computer bridge online at any time. So I want to look at the one that I really recommend that you play, although there's tons of different ones you could play. But the one that I usually play, and really that most of us that play through the Bridge Center play this Bridge Base online. It was really the only one that was available for a long time that gave you points in the big point counting system in the sky that a lot of us play for. You can actually earn points on this system, but you don't need to worry about that. You can just play hands on here to practice. So the way you get to this system is bridgebase.com. That's the name of it. Bridgebase online is the name of this system. The way you access it is bridgebase.com. There's also an app that you can get, which is Bridgebase. So you type in bridgebase.com. And when you type this in, this will be the screen that comes up first. You can actually register on here and get a login name and a password and register and go behind here. And there's a lot more things available behind. There's a lot of games that you can pay for to play, different kinds of competitive levels of games that you pay for those games. But you don't have to do that. And just registering doesn't mean you have to pay anything. But you can if you want to. But you don't even have to register. You can just play anything that's on here. And for you guys just starting out, I would recommend one of two things. The first one is just declare there's not even any bidding. Once you get a little bit more into the bidding, you can go to this just play bridge. And what it does is hands just keep coming up and you're playing against 3 robots. So this one, just declare, is no bidding involved. It will tell you what your contract is. And then you're going to try to make that. A screen comes up just telling you a little bit about it. And you hit play. But see, this screen comes up and it tells you, shows you your hands, the dummy's hand and your hand. And it shows you that the contract you are going to be playing is 2 no trump, and south, it says, is the declarer. We didn't talk about this yet, but just in bridge, for an easy way to decide who's sitting at the first, the second, the third, the fourth chair, we just name all the seats at a table based on the directions on a compass. So we've got north, east, south, and west. The orientation on bridge bases, south is always at the bottom of the screen, north is at the top of the screen. That would mean east is over here on the right, and west is over here on the left-hand side. So it tells you you're going to play 2 no trump. This 5 of spades has already been played by this guy over here. Okay, so he has played the 5 of spades, and now you get to decide how to play the hand. You will probably play a low card here because second hand usually plays low. You just click on the card to play it. Then this person plays a card, and it's the robots playing those cards. And then you'll look at your hand and decide what to play. And here, and notice this was a high card. That's the third hand, the 1, 2, 3. Third hand decided to play a high card out of his hand. Jack's probably the highest card he had. And so now I can win the trick by playing either the king or the ace. It doesn't make any difference which I play. The highest card is going to win. So that one, now I just click. I think, why isn't it?
No, I didn't get it. You have to play the next card to get it to close.
Oh, okay, boy, that was
that's
my
not how any of
the others work. Okay, all right, so we have won that one. So we get to lead again. So now Let's see.
They're in your hand.
Yeah, right. I think I'm going to lead the 7 of hearts now. And then I'm going to play the ace over here. And now I won over there. Now I'm going to lead the 3 of hearts from over here. And now I'm going to try to knock out one of their higher ones. I think I'll just try playing the 9 and see what they play. Oh, and they won with the queen. Now notice my king and my jack are now good because the ace
Yay!
was already played. They played the queen. Now I have the queen and the jack. Those are both good. Anyway, you play through, you go through the whole thing, and at the end, it will tell you how many tricks you took. See, it's counting here. The tall bar here is us, north and south. The shorter bar is the east and west people. It shows right now we've won 2 tricks and they've won 1 trick. But we would play all the way down to the end to make a decision. So this is this is on the front page just after you've typed in bridgebase.com. This is the Just Declare. And that's the best thing for you right now, just to play bridge. Once you get a little bit more about bidding, you can go to the Just Play Bridge, and that gives you the bidding and the play. You can also register here. And if you register, I would recommend that you get your ACBL number first. I told you during class, and we gave you, I don't seem to have it up here, but I gave you instructions on how to join the American Contract Bridge League because you can get a guest membership for 3 months for free, and they will assign a number to you. It's a 7-digit number. That's your bridge number now, and you'll just play with that. If you register on BridgeBase, it's going to ask for that number. You don't have to have it, but you might as well go ahead and get it first, then register here. I'm already registered, so when I go in here, it's just going to come up with my login information, because once you do that, you'll assign yourself a username and a password and sign in, just like any application you ever use. And then it will come up with different things that you can do. And so there are a lot of different things you can do. You can play solitaire, which is you just play and there are robots sitting at the other places. You can meet other people and play competitively with other people. You can also play competitively against the robots. The competitive one, this one, is mainly cost money for everyone that you want because you get master points there. So you don't care about doing that. What you probably want to do, this is the first page after you've registered and logged in, you get to this page. I would suggest either solitaire, which just brings up games for you to play, and it tells you how to play all of these. Just Play Bridge is what we saw on the very first page. You can also reach it here. After you've registered and gone in, you could do it. Or you also have the option of doing what's called a practice table. And so on a practice table, you can either start a bidding table or a teaching table, or look, a mini bridge table. Mini bridge is what we learned last week, which is bridge without any of the bidding at all, just declaring how many points you have and deciding who gets to play. So you could play there. So you can play any of these ways on BridgeBase. And you know, you can spend hours doing this if you want to. You may do that. So now I do want to tell you there are other ones that you can do. There's a thing called Shark Bridge, Easy Bridge, Bridge Baron. There are a lot of different ones that you can play. Some of them cost money, some of them don't. Your friends, OK Bridge is another one. Your friends may recommend one. They may like one, and you could meet them there to play bridge. You can meet your friends here to play bridge online, or you can just play by yourself. But whatever you decide to do, you should do something. If you have people you play with all the time, great, do that. But usually you're only going to do that once or twice a week. You can practice every day, you know, just here on BridgeBase or any of the other bridge things. So really, totally 100% recommend that you play some bridge online. Okay, so that is our wrap up for our review of the first session. Tomorrow in class, we are going to start really actually bidding, jump right into the bidding process and learn how to evaluate our hands, how to decide what to bid, and using this coded communication language that we use. That'll start tomorrow in class. And I look forward to seeing all of you then. So
Nice job, Sally. Well done.
thank you. See
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.